Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shri Jagan Mataram Devim Sthita Dhi Padmakasanam Hridaya Sagaratitam Gomatim Pranatosmyaham Om.
Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. These sacred words from Srimad Bhagavad Gita echo through centuries, reminding us to act with sincerity, without attachment. Our guest today has lived this truth, not just read or taught it, but embraced it in every moment of his life. Born in Brazil, trained as an engineer, a soldier once, and today a spiritual guide. Padma Shri Acharya Jonas Masetti, also known as Vishvanatha, is a bridge between the soul of India and the heart of the world. He has taken the wisdom of Vedanta beyond borders into the lives of thousands who now see life not just as a journey but as a path to the self. Let us now begin this heart-to-heart conversation not just with a teacher but with a true seeker. Acharya Jonas ji, Namaskar, Pranam,
Namaskar.
Welcome to Sansad TV.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
You have a beautiful voice and you're a beautiful soul. It's a very proud moment to have you here, and especially after receiving Padma Shri. Congratulations to you. What's in your mind right now after receiving this award?
It's very difficult to describe. I was not expecting to receive this award, and I could not understand the dimension of it when I was in Brazil, because we don't have such awards in Brazil. You know. Then slowly I came to understand, and I was talking to some friends, and I was expecting to be very excited and happy with it, you know. But actually brought me to a place of a lot of, humbleness, and start seeing another dimension for this work that we have been doing in Brazil. The fact is that this Puraskaraha Nakevalamamasti is not only for me, it's for our whole family. We have a group of sevakas, hundreds of people that are working every day, you know, to make this knowledge accessible in the West. And it's for all of them, and especially for my teachers, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Swami Sakshat Kirtananda Saraswati, and the Professor Gloria Riera, who also received the Padma Shri. So it was a sense of immense gratitude and a sense of recognition also that we got. But when I was talking to other Padma Shris on the day of the ceremony, we all got the same sensation. Is a sense of responsibility.
Absolutely.
You know, because there is much more to be done. You know.
So I'll start from the journey of your life.
Please.
From Jonas Masetti, the engineer, the army personnel, and the one who was totally into share market and trading. From where that inner call came, which transformed your life, and you became the spiritual guru. What was that moment?
So in my early 20s, I had my own company. I was working on the stock market. I had just quit the army. And my company was very successful in short period, you know. And I was working for the biggest companies in Brazil with all the leaders and senior managers, CEOs. And suddenly I was in a place that was very privileged because nobody has access to all these people. Although we had some exceptions, the majority of them, although they were very rich, they were very poor at the same time, you know, spiritually speaking. And this put me in a position where I could not understand what I was doing with my life, because if I go ahead, I would be like them, and I did not want to be, you know. So suddenly I continue working, but I found in my heart an emptiness that needs some solution. And one night I did a prayer like to the stars in my room, and on the next day I had a feeling that I should study yoga from nowhere and have no connection to Vedic tradition or anything. So I tried to find an authentic teacher. Then I found this person, his name is Santosh Valuri, and he has just moved to Brazil, and he was a Vedanta teacher and a yoga teacher.
There in Brazil?
There in Brazil. And there everything started. And it was slowly, because my mind was completely destroyed. I was a very anxious person. I could not understand like how cooperation was better than competition, you know. So it was a slowly process.
Absolutely. One side we can see life of logic, and other side it's life of silence, it's life of surrender. Was that transition difficult?
Well, it was, you know, because the mind has a way to get addicted to the objects and to the habits that it has, you know. But what really helped was the mantras. You know, I was doing japa and puja every day, you know, in the morning by myself. There was nobody there that was connected to this tradition. And somehow this bhakti, this devotion was taking me towards the silence. And that's how it happened.
And how did you get connected to Vedanta then?
So Vedanta started with a simple text called Tata Buddha, where Sri Shankaracharya explained the meaning of life and the pursuits of a human being, you know. So when it was told to me that we had a pursuit to understand who we are, and that our suffering is all based in this ignorance and self-condemnation, it makes a lot of sense. So I said, yes, I need to know who I am, not like who I am, this body or my past life. No, what is the nature of the self? So the pursuit got started and activated.
So you met your guru, Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji.
Mm-hmm.
That meeting had a great impact in your life. Would like to know about that first meeting.
Yes. So before meeting him, I was studying, but it was like a very small flame, you know.
And that flame was in Brazil.
That was in Brazil.
Now you were in Coimbatore.
Yeah, no, I met him in Salesburg in US. He was traveling, and it was closer than India. I also was afraid to come to India in the first time, because I did not know what to expect. So I went to United States and met him in Salesburg, and suddenly I could see the tradition in another perspective. I see hundreds of people chanting mantras. I saw Dakshinamurti Abhishekam 5 o'clock in the morning. So there was suddenly a connection, maybe a past life connection that got activated, and I just understood that I was part of this family, let's say. And so one day I went there to speak to him and meet him, and what I remember is like, it's just poetical, but it's how I felt. Like the room was filled by a lot of light, you know. And he was so precise and simple with his words, but at the same time very profound, you know. I was like, like a small child, you know, surprised with such a beautiful energy, you know. And that was the first moment we met. I received the mantra from him that helped a lot with like healing my mind, you know. And I protected this flame for many years until I meet him again in Rishikesh after 2-3 years in India.
Then for 3 years you were doing Vedanta course in India.
Yeah, then after that I came back to India to do a long-term course, where I lived with Swami Dayananda next to Coimbatore, in a place called Anaikati, Arsha Vidya Gurukulam. So I stayed there for 4 years and a half, studying the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and all that.
Well, Acharya Jonas, how that education, how that connection to Vedanta shaped you inside and out?
It showed me, it gave me back my humanity. Because what happened is that I feel like that a human being, the body of the human being just grows and gets mature. But the mind needs some spiritual inputs to become mature, Although we can be like 40, 50 years old, behaving like a 10-year-old boy, So suddenly I got the values, I got the, the habits that would help me to grow. All this from the Vedas, And then after some time I started to understand what was like the deepest meaning of the words like daya, of seva, That's how a human being should live. It was a very beautiful journey.
Basically, somewhere you're deeply connected to that light of humanity.
Yeah, that's what I feel. And I feel that every person, when it starts its journey, it's like the inner light is covered by some dirt, And the spiritual paths, they go and remove this dirt to bring out, the simple and happy person that is inside of each one.
While you were studying and you were doing a course of Vedanta, during that time, you met with an accident.
Yes,
for 6 months. You were on wheelchair. What changed?
Well, it was one night I was coming back from a satsang, and it was maybe like around 10 o'clock, and I suddenly listened like a very strange sound in the forest, and everything was dark. And suddenly from nowhere, a wild boar just jumped on my leg and broke my knee.
Oh my God.
I went running and shouting, and the wild boar, thanks for Ishwara's grace, went to the other side. And then people helped me, and I went to the hospital, and I had broke my knee, of course. Then I need to put 2 pins, And it was almost the end of the course, what was good in some sense, because the majority of the study I have done, and I did not know if I was going to proceed or not. But I focused my mind, and I said, I'm not going to miss one class, So it took me 3 days to come back to the ashram. And there I was in a wheelchair, and during 6 months doing my recovery period. And it changed a lot in me, because although I was there studying and everything, I could not really understand how vulnerable we are and how we need each other, And that time I was needing help for everything. Even to go to my room from the classroom, somebody has to push me. And somebody would bring food. Somebody would come and wash my clothes. So I felt like, there is no reason I should hold myself back in helping people, because that's something very great to receive. I can even cry if I start to think about, It's a very, profound moment, of vulnerability and of...
That I can see in your eyes. The emotions are very deep. The emotions are very true, and those can be seen in your eyes. And it shows how you would have felt at that time, because that must be a hard time. But yes, of course, it was a time when you got so much love.
Yeah, it was a blessing in disguise also, because it helped me to understand like the meaning of daya, of helping people. Like the nature of the human being is to serve others. There is no purpose to go to live a life and end up with a big bank account and what we are going to do, be buried with all the gold that we have accumulated. So it's about connection. It's about releasing ourselves from this bond of being egocentric. That's something that our nowadays society is all talking about. That success means you're able to be bigger than yourself.
Absolutely. Well, for whole life, we are never satisfied. We are always running after money, after name, after fame. But then suddenly we realize that the peace which we are seeking for is somewhere inside us. What was that moment when you felt that, yes, you felt peace?
During the whole process of Vedanta study, we have a lot of moments like that you understand that you are happiness, It becomes clearer and clearer gradually, But the main understanding is that ignorance is actually the cause of suffering. when we start to understand that, then the way we search for happiness changes. Firstly, we are like trying to change the world around us, change people's opinion about us. But why I'm wanting to change somebody's opinion? It's just because my own view of myself is not in the correct place. If I know who I am, if I know my values, the work I do, the opinion of the other people would get less important for me, you know. So suddenly, like, the search for the self becomes the search for happiness, and then everything gets in the right place.
Right. Coming back to Brazil as a Vedanta teacher, how was that first step taken by you? Also, as a Vedanta teacher, when you meet several people there, especially the youngsters, what do they seek for, and what changes in their life after meeting you?
So, when I came back from India, I did not know how the work will go and everything. But I had a commitment with myself and with the tradition that I would do it for 1 year. If in 1 year I was not able to work it out, I would maybe do it as a second thing in my life. But since day one, there was always people to listen. I don't know from where they came, but there was always people. And slowly it started to increase. The big leap was when I started to use technology to reach people. By that time, 12 years ago, there was not so many people teaching online and doing many things. So I started to do open lectures online, you know, and that reached a lot of people.
Okay.
All the weekends of the year, I was traveling to a different city, sometimes giving classes to 5 people, 2 people, 10 people, small groups, you know. After 2-3 years, there was a big leap, and then we can say hundreds of people start coming, you know. And then I understood that that was my dharma, and all this process was like a test, you know, to see if I really want to do that, you know. Nowadays, what I see, and also I get very connected to the Indian society on this sense, is that how we need to help the youngsters on their self-knowledge path. Because, you know, society only lives with 3 generations. That's the truth. After 3 generations, the people have passed away. So if we want to change society, we have to change the mind of the youngsters. That's how it works. And there is a tremendous force in the world nowadays, telling that life is about, you know, only pleasure, thinking about ourselves, gaining money and fame, you know. And I get very touched, like, when I see this in India, because it's such a wonderful culture and so many answers and so many masters and teachers, gurus, and then when I see the Indian youth, you know, looking to the West and thinking that's great, you know, it hurts my heart, you know, and so this is something that I would like to help somehow, being a Westerner, to be able to tell people, look, there is a treasure below your feet, you know, what are you doing, you know. And it's not that the Vedic tradition is against the West or technology, no, it's complementary, you know. You can have everything that the West can give you, but nothing that the West can give you will give you what the Vedic tradition will give you. It cannot give you peace. It cannot give you your heart back. It cannot give you the sense of family. You know, all this connection, it comes from a spiritual path.
Absolutely. Then people started calling you Vishvanatha.
Yes.
And you opened Instituto Vishwa Vidya. And through this institute, you got connected to more than 1.5 lakh students who were basically seeking for peace. During this journey, did you find someone who was just like you? Or any story you would like to share after meeting so many students who were basically seekers?
Many times. I feel that somehow the students are sent for the teacher to keep growing, you know. So many people with the same psychological profile, with the same type of traumas that I had, same issues like anxiety and other issues that I used to have. So it's some sort of redemption also when we teach, you know, we get connected with our own history and we have to go back and teach us again, you know. Although people may think like this, oh, he's an acharya and doing that. In our perspective, we are always a student and we are always learning, you know. And nowadays we have lakhs of students, and each camp that I give, each class, I feel that I'm the first one to be learning.
Absolutely. Now I'll talk something about the personal life.
Okay.
A great dancer, a great folk dancer from Brazil who comes to India, he meets his better half just outside Meenakshi Mandir, and her name is also Meenakshi. How was that first meeting?
Oh my
and
God.
you never met before in Brazil? How did it happen?
That's a good story. Nobody knows. The truth is, I was coming back from the 3-year course, and a friend of mine has asked, look, there is a group of Brazilians here, and could you give a lecture to them on Vedanta? I said, yes, why not? You know, so let's start working. You know? So I went to the Meenakshi temple. Inside the temple, we were there, and I gave a lecture to a group of Brazilians. You know. Just after that, the Brazilians was the first time they were there, so they did not know exactly what to do, how to behave, you know. And then there is this girl was there, and she was looking, understanding what to do, and I came to her and said, do you need some help, you know? And then she lately became my wife, and it was nice because the first thing we did together was to have a darshana in Sundareshwara Mandir.
Wow.
So it was very symbolic, you know, and she's Meenakshi and Vishvanatha, so it's a big connection. People think that I met her in Brazil, and no, not true. We were from the same city, but I never met her before, you know.
India is basically your second home.
It's my second home.
The spiritual home, from where you got the connection to the spirituality, and from where you got your better half, your life partner.
Exactly.
So somewhere you have a deep connections to India.
Mm-hmm.
What does these connections mean to you?
Well, after some years looking to it, you know, I understand that probably it's like a Purva Janma connection, you know. I must have lived here for some time in, you know, some mountains and ashrams, because many things on this Vedic parampara, it makes sense for me to my daily life. The mantras, the puja, even ice bath we do in Brazil, you know. So there is some sort of sense of belonging that I receive from like a part of myself that it's not available on this janma, but it's there, you know. So that's how I feel.
Well, do you believe Vedanta is basically a universal message, not bounded to any culture, any belief, any border, or any religion? It's beyond culture or geography.
It's true. I can say like this: Vedantaha na kasyachit samskrite heva dharmasyam shaha bhavati parantu sarvesham jananam hridayam prati bhashate. It's not, does not belong to a specific religion or culture, but it will speak to the heart of everyone, you know. I really believe that Sanatana Dharma once was in the whole world, maybe with
Absolutely.
different names, you know. And we can see like how in different traditions there are signs, you know. Like if you go to the forest in the Amazon in Brazil, they are using bija mantras that are the same of the Vedic tradition.
Is it so?
Yeah, like Shri, 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 you know. They have words like Vana, meaning forest, you know, that's the same in Sanskrit. And so many connections, and when you hear them singing, it sounds like Samaveda, you know, although it's not Sanskrit as such, but it sounds like Samaveda. They even say how, but they say haush, haush, haush. So it's a universal message that the world should be very grateful that Bharata was able to keep it alive, you know, for all these thousands of years, you know. So today I understand that like the whole Jagat has to do a namaskaran to this culture, because it's protecting this knowledge and keeping it alive, you know, with the Sanskrit, but not only with the teaching itself, but with the society that's around it, you know. I tell that simply learning the Vedanta teaching, taking Bhagavad Gita and opening, it works, but it's not how it was supposed to work, you know.
Absolutely.
So Vedanta is like a fish. And the Vedic tradition is like the water where the fish lives, you know. The fish cannot live out of water. You cannot take the Vedanta teachings without the puja, japa, homa, Sanskrit. It's not going to work. Although the knowledge will work by itself, but the person is not qualified for it. So the qualification comes from this Sanatana path. You know?
Absolutely. Now, when we talk about Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we say it's a song of divine. What is its most powerful message for you personally?
There is a verse that says, Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyaha. This is the last verse of teaching in the Bhagavad Gita that says that all the knowledge is condensed there. And it says that we need to get to a point in life where we understand that everything that we do is not really chosen by us, you know. It's given by God, it's given by Ishvara, by the Dharma law itself. Even what we know, what we remember, the connections we have, our wife, husband, everything, you know, is coming from above, you know. So there is no point for us to trying to control everything that's happening around us, or having the feeling that we are doing so much, you know, because it's done by him or her, you know. And this vision put us in a place where we can surrender, you know, we can surrender to this higher order and enjoy the short lifespan that we have here, you know, as a human being. So for me, this is like, in essence, the deepest way that we can express this knowledge in practical terms, you know.
Well, you're a Sanskrit scholar as well. If I ask you any shloka or any mantra that changed your life, or that came as an inspiration to you?
The mantra that I chant in the beginning, it's a salutation to the gurus. Sadashiva Samarambam, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Paramparam. It's a very profound token of gratitude and of understanding the value of the Guru and the Parampara. And actually, without the Parampara, without the Gurus and all the people that are putting this knowledge further, nobody would have access to it, you know. So we talk about the beauty of knowledge, but before that, we have to understand that there is a Parampara that is giving this knowledge. So for me, this is the most beautiful verse, and the one I always repeat when I'm going to start a class or an interview or something like that.
When you met Prime Minister of India in Brazil, during his tour, when he was at the tour to Brazil during G20 presidency, he met you and he had a long conversation with you. What was that interesting part? Because later he mentioned the same conversation in his Mann Ki Baat program, which he does monthly.
Well, what I can share is that I was like very honored, of course, but also like impressed with the profundity that he had, you know. I knew how much he was doing for the Vedic tradition in India and all the values that he was upholding, but the person itself I did not know, you know. So the first time I saw him, we were performing some mantras for his welcoming. And when I saw him coming, he came and I could sense like his Shakti, you know, and how deep tapas he has performed, you know. And he came very close to us while we were chanting, you know, and looked to everybody in the eyes. It was a very beautiful moment, and all the students, they were very, how I say, that moment connected, you know, to something greater. It was like a spiritual moment for everyone, you know. After that, we performed the Ramayana Katha for him, you know.
And in Sanskrit?
In Sanskrit. And then after the Ramayana Katha, it was the moment we could talk a little bit, you know. And then he asked about us, from where we came. He wanted to know more about the people that were there, because in fact, we were not like professional artists. Actually, everyone that was in the kata was a Sanskrit student that has studied for 4 years, and this was like their presentation, you know. And imagine the presentation to the Prime Minister of India was such a big thing, you know. So people were like emotional, they were crying, they were feeling more than a kata. It was some sort of, how I say, a healing process that was happening for our family, you know, and they were represented as all. And we talked about a little bit about the importance of this cultural exchange with different countries, because India is leading the world in terms of showing the value of spirituality, you know. And like Brazil and other parts of the world that also has an ancient spiritual tradition that is alive, they are going behind India, you know, following India in this way. If you go like here and any place in the world, you know what is yoga, what is Ayurveda, and now what is Vedanta also, you know. But you don't have the same knowledge about the sun dance of the Lakota people in the United States.
Absolutely. About
the sacred healing medicines in the Amazon forest, you know. So there is like an understanding that these native people need to get, you know, and how to present themselves as with the value that they have, you know, what they have preserved.
Well, as you said that you learned a lot from these values, from the Vedanta, from this ancient philosophy. Mm-hmm. How did it change you personally as a human being, not as a teacher?
Mm-hmm. Well, being very sincere, in Brazil, we don't have the same family structure that we have in India. In the West, I would say that a teenagehood, a childhood can be very traumatic, you know. And on this sense, there was a lot of holes inside of myself to be filled, you know. So I have to receive from my gurus and from all this parampara some healing on my father and mother side, you know. Although I'm very grateful to them and to the effort that all my family has put, they did the best that they could. But still there are many things in me that need to be healed, you know. So it was first, we were doing a first aid with mantras and puja, you know, to bring the mind back. And then we had a deep surgery, you know, to understand that it's all about love, you know. It was not about cruelty or pain, you know. It's just that it's very difficult for us to understand as human beings the love protocol. How can we make another person feel loved by us and reciprocate? It's very difficult, you know. But once you start to get an understanding of yourself, it's not that you forgive everybody, because there is nothing to be forgiven, you know. It's an understanding that you get about the limitations that a human being has, that I have, that everybody has, even the Buddha will have, you know, as he himself described, you know. So this acceptance, you know, and love towards the human being that we are with all our limitations, I think this is the biggest blessing we can get from this tradition.
Absolutely. Acharya ji, is there any one mantra you live by or you would like to pass on to every seeker of the world?
I want to say, like for the Indian youth, basically, you know, is that you have a lot, you know, here in India. You have a lot. You have a lot from family. You have a lot from a society that values itself, you know, and has a set of values that there is no equal in any part of the world. That's the truth, you know. At the same time, there is more to be known, because the spiritual path, you can be born on it, like on a place where the spirituality is there, but you have to choose. You have to choose to study, and you have to choose to be this contributor to society, you know. So don't let this like time pass and then you wait when you are in your 50s or 60s to say, now I'm going to start my spiritual journey, you know. There are so many gurus so many ashrams, so many mandirs, you know, and they are speaking the same thing in different ways. You can see where you connect yourself, you know. Life without spirituality is very dry, you know.
Absolutely.
Although we can achieve many things, you feel empty, you know. It's like becoming old without family, you know. You feel lonely. It can be very lonely for a person, you know. So suddenly, if you have the opportunity to open this together with your modern life and your work on your 20s, on your 30s, it will make a big difference, you know, in your whole life path.
You live in Brazil, but your heart beats in India. What do you think is India's biggest gift to the world?
There are so many things that is very difficult to describe one, you know. But for me personally, like being here, it's like recharging, you know, my batteries, you know. Because nowadays it's not true, but for some years before, I was doing this path alone there in Brazil. So when I come here and I meet my Guru Bhais, my friends, the other teachers and my Guru, it's like an opportunity to get connected to, you know, where I came from, you know, and the source now of this big tree now of spirituality. And I feel that there is an Indian way of being that is being lived and expressed in, you know, in the streets of Delhi, in the tuk-tuk, in the food, you know, when you go to take a Ganga deep, you know, and the prayers before you eat. It's such a beautiful culture, you know, in many ways, and it's all conveying a message, you know, that this life that we are living here is supposed, or it has the capacity to be very joyful, you know. It's not about how much we have. It's not about how famous we are, you know. It's not that, you know. It's just like nature, life, mantras, you know, family. It's such a beautiful thing, you know. And sometimes the mind just gets lost, you know, with all these advertisements of happiness that are around, you know. And India has an opportunity, you know, because many places where you go, it does not matter if it's like a poor place or a very rich place, you know. You can feel this energy, you know, of happiness and connection is there, you know. So for me, this is the most beautiful thing in the world.
I would say lindo marveloso. I hope I tried my level best to say wonderful in Brazilian language. Here it's written Bharat Ke Padma. That is the Padma awardee of India. It's a beautiful moment, getting this one of the highest civilian awards from Bharat, the land where you are spiritually connected, which is the place where your heart beats. Getting this award from Bharat, from India, what is in the mind now?
Yeah, much more a sense of responsibility, I would tell, you know, also because I have many friends and acquaintances that are Vedanta teachers, and I feel that they all deserve this Puraskar as much as myself, you know. But at the same time, I understand like the position that I am as a Western teaching this Vedic culture so far away, you know. So this recognition will be very important for our family, and we will open doors like to give this message even more broadly. I also understand that as a Western that is into the Vedic culture, there's a role to play. Like I feel that I can really help like people that are enchanted by the Western way of thinking, you know, because I was there, I was born
right.
there, you know.
You lived that life.
I lived that life, and
yes.
I know all the traps and the understandings that it has, you know. So I feel like, how can I contribute? You know, this is the question in my mind these last 3 days was, what can I do to help, you know, and to serve, you know. So that's the feeling I get. And I, like my plan, I have some plans. One is to start to bring some of groups of Indian people to Brazil, to the Gurukulam, for them to see their own culture in a different setup, and also to come to know the Amazon culture and all the native from Brazil. And then bring some people from Brazil and natives here, do like a cultural exchange, you know. And this will open, I'm sure, the mind in both sides, you know.
Acharya ji, after you received this Padma award, so many people came to you, congratulated you. What was the best compliment you got? And from whom?
Well, the best, like I received many important messages from very important people, and from my family, from Guru Bhais, from my gurus, you know. But it was very important for me to get connected to my first teacher, that was Mr. Santosh Valuri, that now is in Bombay, because it was where everything started, you know. And it have been a long time we were not talking for, you know, how life was, and we have a very nice talk. It was a very beautiful moment for me.
Well, this can be a personal question from my side.
Okay.
Well, for whole life, we keep on running.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what we want to attain in our life, but we are still running. We are running after money, but we are not happy.
Mm-hmm.
We get it, what we want, what we desire for, but we are not happy. We want to desire for more. We keep on desiring. We get so many things, but still we are not satisfied. What will satisfy a human being? What will make him contented? What is that thing which we are desiring for?
I will give you an example that I think it will help. Because desires are like fire, you know. You put something in the fire eats up and wants more, you know. So we have to understand the mind mechanism. You know, it's not simple, but it's feasible. Let's suppose I give you a box with a lot of money.
Right.
And I said, it's for you, you
Okay.
know. Yeah, anyone will be happy, because no money, you can do many things with it.
Of course, people desire for money.
So I will be happy, you know. Then I will ask you, where is this happiness coming from? Is it coming from the money? Because there is no like rays coming from the money making me happy. No, of course
It's
not.
coming from inside after seeing the money.
It's coming from inside, but let's think why, you know. Let's suppose I tell you like this. Can you see this box of money? Keep it for me. It's mine, but you keep it.
Okay.
Then what we will say, no, it's so much money, I don't want to keep,
Yeah.
you know. If money brings happiness, the cashier of the bank should be very happy, because every day she's touching money. So it's not about money itself. It's about being the owner. Like there is an ownership that is the key for this happiness. And it's the same ownership that when, you know, my son passes a difficult exam, I become happy because it's my son. If the son of my neighbor passes, I'm not going to be happy.
Absolutely.
So it's not about the person, it's about how I see myself through that person, how I see myself through the money, how I see myself through the compliments that I receive outside, you know. So what is happening is I want to change the way I see myself based on the compliments that I receive outside. But the fact is that the compliments are only effective inside of me because I don't see myself. Let's suppose you are a very good painter and you do a very nice painting, you know, and you know your value, you have been painting for 20 years, and I just arrive here and say, no, I'm sorry, I did not like it. What do you do? Are you going to get sad? No, you're going to say, what did you not like? Because it's your value, you know it, you know. But if you don't know if you are a good painter or not, you are starting and you want to be a good painter, but you are not sure about your work, then my opinion is very important. Then money becomes very important. Then if my child passed the exam or not becomes very important. Because really, I don't know who I am. I have not a vision of myself by myself. I'm always depending on other people to set up who I am to myself, you know. That's what we call ignorance.
But sometimes it feels like if someone has said something bad to us, it gives us a very bad impact, and we start feeling, oh, are we not so good? Are we really bad? Because that comment directly impacts on us. Why does it happen?
There are some emotional triggers. Think about, if a person that you don't know just walking on the street, you know, and say some bad words to me, I'm not going to bother about that, you know. I'm just, maybe 5 minutes I will say something and move away, you know. But if it's like my mother, I will be thinking the whole week, you know.
Absolutely.
Because there is an emotional connection, you know, and I expect her to give me love, to give me this, and to validate my own vision of myself, you know. So this emotional connection is what make these talks, let's say, so hurtful in the mind, you know. So once we understand that, and we are able to give love to ourselves and not expect love to be given from outside, you know, then everything changes. If you come to a rose and say to the rose, oh, you are very beautiful, the rose will say, what you're talking? I know I'm beautiful. I don't need this compliment, thank you very much, but you know, do your thing, I'm here being a rose, you know. But we are not like that. Like, because of this emotional weakness, we are all the time asking people, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you care about me?
Because we are not sure of.
We are not sure of.
We don't know who we are. We don't know our importance.
Exactly. That's the key. So instead of asking people to give more compliments, we should look for about who we are, you know.
That's such a graceful conversation. Thank you so much, Acharya ji, for giving us that key to the lock where we are actually stuck. Thank you so much for a wonderful conversation. And I would say, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. This is not just a phrase, it is a mirror. A reminder that the divine, the truth, the eternal lies not outside but within. Jonas ji, through your life, through your journey, through your teaching, through your preaching, you have proven that the truth belongs to no religion, no border, no country, no culture. Rather, it belongs to the seeker who dares to achieve, who dares to seek. Thank you so much for sharing your life, your journey, and your life's journey with us. It was really inspiring, and we learn a lot from you. Thank you so much, Acharya ji.
I would like to use this opportunity to thank the Indian government and also all the Indians that they have sent so many messages of love and kindness to me. I'm going back to my country just after here the interview. So thank you all for everything. I'll be back by the end of the year.
Thank you so much. Well, just like Jonas ji, who comes from Brazil and found his soul home in Bharat and now helping others find that same home within themselves. Padma Shri Jonas ji is the living thread in the sacred fabric of Vedanta. Well, that's all for now. Keep watching Sansad TV. Namaskar.
संसद टीवी के और भी प्रोग्राम्स देखने के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें हमारा यूट्यूब चैनल और हाँ, इन्हें लाइक और शेयर करना ना भूलें।